There was a coffee can of loose fishing lures sitting on a shelf in a boat shed outside a lake in northern Wisconsin. Tangled hooks, faded paint, the kind of can most people would tip straight into the trash. One lure in that can, small, wood-bodied, with glass eyes and a chipped paint pattern nobody recognized, sold for a little over $1,600. $1,600 out of a coffee can, headed for the burn barrel. My name's Otis Granger, 40 years picking barns and estate auctions across the Midwest. And I'll tell you straight, nobody looks twice at a tangle of old lures. Today we're counting down 10 old fishing lures hiding in tackle boxes and boat sheds right now, worth a lot more than anybody guesses. And I'll show you exactly what separates the junk from the money. Before we get going, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Michigan, Georgia, Ontario, doesn't matter, I read every one. Note Picord. And stick with me to number 4, because that's the lure that taught me to check the hook hardware before anything else. Let me be straight with you first. Most old lures are $2 to $10 lures. Dump out a tackle box from any random barn sale, and 8 or 9 of every 10 in there are common as dirt. Mass produced and worth about what a new one costs at the bait shop. That's the honest math. The 10th one is why I still dig through every coffee can I find. Here's why the old ones beat the new ones. Before plastic injection molding took over in the 50s and 60s, lures were hand-carved and hand-painted out of cedar or balsa, one at a time, by companies competing hard on craftsmanship, because that's all they had to sell. The paint patterns were applied by hand, and the eyes were often real glass, and sometimes even hand-painted glass with a pupil and iris, not a stamped plastic dot. Flip a lure over and look at the belly. A weight stamp, a maker's mark, or a patent date changes everything. Then check the hardware. Old hook hangers were cup-shaped brass fittings screwed into the body. Later productions switched to a simple screw eye punched straight through the wood, and which is faster to make and worth a fraction as much. 2 quick rules before we start. Glass eyes generally mean pre-1940s production, since most makers switched to painted or molded plastic eyes after the war to cut costs. And a lure with propeller blades cupped and hand-finished rather than stamped flat is almost always older and better made than the propellers that came after. Number 10, the common Heddon Vamp, one of the most mass-produced wood lures ever made, which is exactly why 9 out of 10 you'll find are worth next to nothing. But the earliest vamps, made before Heddon, switched to their later glass eye standard, carry a distinctive hand-painted fire scale pattern with alternating red and white scales painted individually rather than sprayed. At a rummage sale in Clear Lake, Iowa, a coffee can of a dozen Vamps sold as one lot for $6. 11 were ordinary later production. One had the hand-painted fire scale pattern and cup-style hook hangers.
That one sold for $145. Check for hand-painted scale detail versus a sprayed pattern.
Check the hook hangers for the cup style, and check the belly for a weight or patent stamp. Common Heddon Vamps run $8 to $25. Early hand-painted examples, $80 to $200. Number 9. South Bend Bass-Oreno lures out of Indiana. South Bend made these by the millions across several decades, and most sitting in a tackle box today are ordinary $5 lures. What separates the money from the junk is the paint pattern name and the eye type. South Bend's rare rainbow and Pikie scale patterns, hand airbrushed with a gradient nobody bothered replicating cheaply, bring serious money, and glass-eyed examples outrank the later painted eye versions every time. In a boat shed outside Havana, Illinois, a Bass-Oreno with glass eyes and a rainbow pattern sat loose in a tackle drawer for years. It sold at a specialty auction for $180. Check the paint pattern against a reference guide. Check for glass versus painted eyes. And check the belly weight stamp for the correct South Bend script. Common Bass-Orenos run $10 to $30. Rare patterns with glass eyes, $100 to $250. Number 8. Creek Chub Bait Company lures out of Garrett, Indiana, known best for their Pikie minnow. Creek Chub's early production used a distinctive glass eye set slightly recessed into the wood, and the body shows visible hand carving marks under close light if you know to look. The tell that separates money from junk is the toilet seat spinner, an oval-shaped propeller blade used only in Creek Chub's earliest runs before they switched to a rounder and cheaper design. At an estate outside Cadillac, Michigan, a Pikie minnow with the oval toilet seat spinner and recessed glass eyes was found loose in a garage drawer.
It sold for $310. Check for the oval spinner blade shape. Check the eyes for that recessed glass setting.
And check the belly for the Creek Chub script stamp.
Common Creek Chub lures run $15 to $40.
Early toilet seat spinner examples, $150 to $400. Number 7. The Heddon 150 minnow, one of the earliest wood minnow-style lures Heddon produced, predating their later These are frequently mistaken for ordinary later Heddon production because the body shape looks similar at a glance. But the hardware gives it away every time. Up-style hook hangers held with 2 screws each rather than the single screw hangers that came later. Out of a widow's garage in Guttenberg, Iowa, a 150 minnow sat in a cigar box of odds and ends. 2 screw cup hangers, glass eyes, faded but original paint.
It sold loose for $220. Check the hook hanger screw count. Check for glass eyes.
The tell is the propeller cupping, hand finished and slightly irregular on the earliest runs, but
later Heddon minnow style lures run $20 to $50. Early 150 pattern examples, $150 to $350.
Number 6, the Shakespeare Revolution and similar early Shakespeare wood lures out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Shakespeare gets overshadowed by Heddon and Creek Chub in most people's minds, which means their genuinely early pieces get underpriced constantly. The tell is the propeller cupping, hand finished and slightly irregular on the earliest runs, and a distinctive maker's stamp on the belly reading the full company name rather than an abbreviated later logo. In the back room of a bait shop, closing its doors in Osage Beach, Missouri, 3 Shakespeare lures sat in a drawer marked old stock, $5 each. One had the full belly stamp and hand cup propellers. It sold to a collector for $135. Check the propeller cupping for hand-finished irregularity. Check the belly for the full company stamp. And check the paint for original hand-applied detail rather than a later spray job. Common Shakespeare lures run $10 to $30.
Early examples with full stamps, $90 to $200.
Number 5, the Paw Paw Bait Company lures out of Paw Paw, Michigan, a smaller maker that gets dismissed constantly simply because the name is less familiar than the big 3. Paw Paw's early glass-eyed lures used a distinctive belly weight held in with a metal plate rather than the simpler methods bigger companies used. And that metal plate is the fastest way to identify one. When a tackle shop in Oshkosh, Wisconsin closed its doors, the last shelf of old stock sold for $60 as one lot. Buried in it was a Paw Paw glass-eyed minnow with the metal belly plate intact. It sold for $165. Check for the metal belly weight plate, check for glass eyes, and check the hook hangers for the earlier cup style. Common Paw Paw lures run $8 to $25.
Early glass-eyed examples with the metal plate, $100 to $200.
Quick word before number 4. If you're getting something out of this, tap subscribe. I put one of these up every week, but one of them is going to match something sitting in your own tackle box. Number 4, and here's the lesson that cost me. The Heddon Dowagiac Minnow, an early classic out of Dowagiac, Michigan. And the reason I now check hardware before anything else on any lure I pick up. These came in several early hardware variations, and the earliest used a distinctive 2-piece hook hanger system held with screws driven straight through cup-shaped brass fittings. At a lake cabin cleanout near Brainerd, Minnesota, I passed on a Dowagiac Minnow because the paint looked rough, and I assumed rough paint meant low value. The man behind me bought it for $15, checked the hook hardware, found the earliest 2-piece cup system, and sold it for $480. Rough paint on a genuinely old lure means nothing if the hardware and eyes are right. Check the hook hanger construction first, before you even look at the paint. Check for glass eyes, and check the body shape against early Dowagiac reference photos. Common Dowagiac minnows run $20 to $60. Early hardware examples in any paint condition, $200 to $500. Number 3, the Pflueger Neverfail and similar early Pflueger wood lures out of Akron, Ohio. Pflueger is better known for reels, although their lures get ignored on a shelf full of Heddon and creek chub, and that's the entire opportunity. Early Pflueger lures use glass eyes set in a distinctive raised socket and slightly proud of the body surface rather than flush. And the belly carries a small oval trademark stamp, easy to miss under old varnish. At a fishing club estate sale on Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, a Pflueger Neverfail sat in a box marked MISC. Lures, $3 each. The raised glass eye socket and oval belly stamp were still readable under the grime. It sold for $210. Check for the raised glass eye socket. Check the belly for the oval Pflueger stamp under old varnish. And check that the original treble hooks, if present, carry a matching Pflueger stamp. Common Pflueger lures run $15 to $40. Early raised eye examples, $120 to $280. Number 2, the Moonlight Bait Company lures out of Paw Paw, Michigan, a maker active only a relatively short window before being absorbed into a larger company, which makes genuinely early pieces scarce by simple accounting. Moonlight's most collected lure, the Wilder-Dilg, used a distinctive feathered tail and a body profile unlike anything the bigger makers produced. Most people who find one have no idea what they're looking at, since the company name never became a household word the way Heddon did.
I'll see you then. I'll see you then.